Firstly, I'd like to thank you for meeting with me. Firstly, if you could tell me your full name, please.
Um, I'm known as Dr. Sadhu Singh. I'm chairperson for the Council of Sikh Gurdwaras in Wolverhampton, and there's in all about nine Sikh temples, 9 Sikh Gurdwaras. A member. Krishnamanda is also a member of the council, and I'm also president of the temple on Penn Road, Nanak Sathar Teacher Darbar, which is on Mender Street.
Mm-hmm.
And on the various governing body for the college, because we do run a college, the first Sikh school in England, which is in Hayes, Middlesex, is sponsored by the temple on Penn Road.
Mm-hmm.
So I play a major role part of running that school.
What kind of school is it?
It's initially we started as a private school, and now last November, it was awarded voluntary aided status.
Uh-huh.
The first Sikh school in the country to get a voluntary aided status, and the Home Minister came out to open the school. National curriculum is taught, but in addition to national curriculum, we teach our language, Sikh studies, classical music, and main emphasis is to teach our children or the children of the school where normal national curriculum plus give them background to our culture, our history, our religion. We started with about 150 students. Now it's gone up to 350, and next year it will go up to 650. That's what it's going for. It will be split up into 2 primary and secondary school. And this is the 3rd year running. We got A-level results, and we're proud to say we're the 3rd in Hillingdon Borough with the successful results.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got students going to Oxford, London University, one went to Oxford University. So the results are quite high, and the school does have a very good name.
What kinds of people, students, does it attract? From what backgrounds?
It's open to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously because it's a Sikh school, the students who come, they do have to observe the values, the rules, regulations, and we're not there to convert them to Sikhism, but they have to attend various lessons, learn, and assembly is purely Sikh assembly in the morning.
Out of interest, I mean, when you say assembly, so does that mean, people take their shoes off and they have to cover their head?
Yeah,
Is it?
cover their head, and we have Guru Granth Sahib in proper hall.
Mm-hmm.
Guru Granth Sahib, they go there,
Mm-hmm.
they pray, and it's not very long pray. Altogether, it's about 15 minutes. They pray, then they sing a shabad from Guru Granth Sahib, and then the head teacher or one of the teacher or sometimes children give a lecture for about 5 minutes on a historical event, and then that's the start. That's the end of the morning pray. After that, it's normal school, but they do have to observe standards like they have to cover their head, keep their head covered all day, and we do provide facilities for other religions if they want to study other language or other religion. That facility is provided, and we do have people from Hindus, Muslim, and last year there was a couple of Jamaicans.
Mm-hmm.
And from English, I don't think there are many, 1 or 2 people from English societies.
Mm-hmm.
Majority, obviously, being in Southall, majority of them are Sikhs.
Are they Orthodox Sikhs, or are there many who haven't been blessed?
Majority who haven't been blessed. When we started, you can say about 90% of the children were clean shaved. Only 10%. But because they're taught the values of culture, religion, studies, and if you go now, you probably find 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we're teaching them, we're not forcing them, we're just teaching them. And children learn very quickly if they're taught properly. And that's a step. We're providing them high class of national curriculum, at the same time bringing them back to our culture, bridging the gap, which the other school don't. And that's where this we have we'll talk about later, society breakdown. That's one of the reasons, because children are running away from our culture. We are failing to teach them. That's the main reason of setting up a school. Otherwise, there's no need. There's plenty of other schools, but they do not provide the extra, which we're providing at no cost.
Yeah. So just there, you touched on the reason for the school being set up. If you could go into that for me now, please.
A reason for setting it up. Back in 93, 94, we felt there was a great need for our children, because being run from a temple, and we do have a head, it's a saintly organization. So there's a saintly person running the organization, and people come to him, and there's always problems that my son is running away, my daughter is running away, can you do something? Right. We heard a lot of stories, and then we had meetings. Then we had a meeting with the sort of people from Handsworth College and one or two other people who are quite high up in education, literate. And we came to a conclusion that there's a need to set up such a school where you can teach your children from day one, because they're easy to mold when they're young rather than when they're grown up. And that's what we are facing. That's what we still do in majority of the families, 80-90% families. Or we'll teach our children when they grow up, but then it's too late, because children do spend about 80% of their time in host community, in school, in jobs, outside, and there's only about 10 or 20% they're spending with their parents, and even that time is not spent teaching them culture or religion, because parents, they're workers, working class, busy businessmen, they're busy, and nobody takes any step of going out and teaching them. And the other reason is we took for guarantee where we come from, back in India, in Punjab, or anywhere in India, because of the environment around you, you learn your language, you learn your culture automatically, because you're living in that country. And we assumed a similar sort of thing in this country, that our children will pick up automatically. But that's not the case, because they are living outside. And we haven't taken this step to go out and teach them. And that's where the second generation, I'm second generation, we had some teaching in our root from back in India. We came born in India. But the third generation who were brought up here, they are, from our culture or religious side, they are purely illiterate. They're not taught. Some Sikh temples or religious organizations, they're taking some step, like holding Sunday school or Saturday school, but that's not enough. Once a week is not enough. And that was one of the reasons we thought that if we set up a school on small basis, build up on that, and over the past 5-6 years, it was a hard struggle, very hard struggle.
In what sense?
Financially, attracting people, because the nature of our society is that you don't want to join in when someone is struggling. You will jump on the boat when it's running, right? It's very hard to go in.
Sure. So
yeah. So the school, because it was fresh, there was no standard setup, and people were afraid whether it's going to take off or not.
Whether they want to be part of it or not.
Yeah.
Did you face any obstacles along the way? I mean, were there people or organisations saying, what your school is representing is segregation? It's causing more segregation within.
Well, we had some resentment from our own society. They were saying, they are going to make the students who are going to come out of the school, they'll probably be saint, right? And there was resentment that because it's a sort of religious type school, that they will not get adequate level of national curriculum or normal for them to go to university. because there was no school. Then there's suddenly school. There was no standard, no previous history. So initially we had to virtually go out of our way, beg to people to bring their children in. And being private school, there was no funds available. The temple was wholly funding it. So the first year there was no fee. Second year went to the small fee. And last year, before it gained voluntary aid status, the fee in London was only £1,300 a year for private school. That includes everything. Now in Wolverhampton, private school, you probably pay £4,000 to £6,000. In London, people were still not willing to pay because they keep thinking it's a religious school. It's a religious school. And now for the past 2 or 3 years, we've shown them that we can achieve better results than other schools. And now we have a waiting list. We do have a waiting list. People are struggling to get in. We get calls every day, can you accept our children? No, because we have no spaces.
Just out of interest, I mean, thinking about the Sikh principles, how much interaction is there between male and female students in these schools? Are there joint classes?
They are not sort of single-sex classes. They're joint classes. It's a secondary school, and like any other secondary school, there's no difference in that. So you got children, male and female, all studying, and before it was just secondary. Now we're starting primary, so we got to cover the whole range from virtually nursery up to A level. And students coming out, our main aim is when students come out of that school, they should be different. They should be recognized that, oh, he's come from that school. Because he will have high academic result as well as he will understand his own culture, her culture, so he be rich in both cultures, which is what is needed. And that's why, I mean, there's friction, there's all these racial problems because people don't understand. And we have failed to teach other communities, other sections of people, of our religion, of our culture. Because mainly we're setting up temples and we are just sitting, preaching inside the temple. I went to States back in '74. I was traveling with a saint on this own religious mission, and we were preaching in one of the temple in Yuva city. There was only a few temples then, in Gurdwara, and I went to the press in Sacramento to give a statement that we're holding a week-long program there just to advertise. And the editor of the paper, he asked me, he said, "Where are you holding this program?" I say, "In the Sikh temple." He said, "What's the point of holding a program in Sikh temple, preaching Sikhism in Sikh temple?" He said, "People who come to Sikh temple, as soon as you hear the name of the Sikh temple, Sikh Gurdwara, you put a barrier. People think it's only open for the Sikhs. And Sikhs who come to that place, they already know the religion." He said, "If you want to preach properly," he said, "go and sit in the park. If you got talent, start singing, start preaching, and let other people learn. Listen to you." He said, "That's the way to preach." Now that is not done anywhere in the world. Here we got 11 temples in Wolverhampton, and we're just bound in between the walls. For the past 3 years we started celebrating Vaisakhi in West Park, and before the festival, we do hold on Saturdays in the town centre 3 or 4 Saturdays open air exhibition type in the Queen Square.
Okay.
Queen Square, and that exhibition is run by the youth, and we're trying to project that youth run it because they speak the language. They're brought up here. They speak the language. They know how to speak, and they go out and it's open air sort of thing. They were free distribution of printed literature give a lecture on religious culture and have a bit of Bhangra to attract. So it's multicultural thing, a bit of attraction. Then that way you attract people, and then you teach them rather than sort of hammering them. You come into the temple, do this. No, you go out to them and speak their language, simple street language. And we had more success in giving the message out on the Saturdays than thousands of people who turn up in West Park. Because West Park, again, they were all Asians.
So, just for clarification, you were talking about Saturdays running up to the Vaisakhi?
Vaisakhi, yeah.
So you were promoting the Vaisakhi in a sense?
In Vaisakhi, we were promoting virtually Sikh religion.
Okay.
Right. And there was just open tent set up.
Right.
With the literature, a bit of culture, a bit of religion.
A taster.
Taster, yeah. And it's purely run by the youth. We stay back. And youth, they go out, talk to people come and literature. So just build up.
So what you're saying is it was more successful in Queen Square, which is the Sikh tent is a small entity in the town centre, whereas the whole of West Park during Vaisakhi Mela was taken over by the Sikh community, and it was less successful in that sense.
But
conveying the message.
Conveying the message to host community, it was less successful.
Right.
Because in town, majority of them are just host community, non-Punjabi speakers. Right. In the park, look at the name Vaisakhi Mela, or they see people there where the Sikh people were walking around, and people do think, oh, it's only for them. Right? Where in town, if you only put a couple of young people forward and you stay back, right, and let them do the talking, the message goes out further. Because our aim is to get the message to non-English speakers. That's where we're failing. And that's not being done anywhere. In temples.
Non-English speakers like who?
No, non-Punjabi speakers.
Okay.
English speakers.
Yeah.
I think there's only, out of there are about 260 temples, only about 2 or 3 temples, might be wrong, probably 5, who hold English service once a month or once a week. None of the other temples. If somebody wants to learn about Sikh religion, who does he go to? To the nearest temple. And he walk in. The priest there is probably Orthodox Sikh. No, he doesn't know English. Now, in that sense, I praise Islamic people. They do have an umbrella body. And then they do have a sort of some kind of body where people can go to. I learned this exhibition which we set him up. I took it from Islamic people actually. About 6-7 years ago, they set up a open stall. One was set up in Civic Centre, in the foyer, Civic Centre. One in Queen Square. A lot of literature, plenty of slides, attraction, computer display, and there was just one young man sitting there. All day, he just sat there. I went to Civic Centre, I looked at him, spoke to him. I said, there's not many people coming to you. You're just sitting here. It's going to be just waste of time. He said, look, I'm sitting here. If we're holding this for 14 days, if we can get the message out to 14 people, then I call myself a successful preacher, right? He said, I'm sitting here, giving all this literature, giving the literature to mainly non-Islamic people, right? That's the whole purpose. Coming out to Civic Centre or middle of the street, and they were doing the same. There was no Maulvi or anybody standing, just old young Muslim person standing there. And that idea took, and we're doing something in Wolverhampton every year. Seemed to be successful. I mean, this year was very, very successful because we had about 150 young people involved. And to get them involved, you have a sports festival sort of thing, have a football tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and you give them something, and you get in return. So you get 150 people who are willing to work for you, and they did.
Thank you for that. Can we sort of go back to early memories of childhood? I mean, if you could tell me where you were born and your date of birth, if that's possible.
3rd of January 46, back in Punjab,
Whereabouts in Punjab?
small village called Garkal near Jalandhar. And my father, he came to this country in 54. And I got 2 brothers. I attended school back home. Then he went back in 61. My father went back. And I came with the whole family. My mother, my brother. We came to this country with my father in 61, May 61. And I was just, it was the wrong age to come, because I was 13 then.
Why was it
No,
wrong?
14 year old. Wrong age to come purely because back home in those days, English is slightly touched at that age. Right. And here, you're dropped virtually end of secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
14 year old,
Mm-hmm.
you're about to leave school 15. And there I was doing matriculation. Okay, I could read some English,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not because it's not spoken, so I couldn't understand anything. And I was dropped virtually in the middle. Can't speak English, can't go down because of my age, can't go up.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasted 1 year, completely was waste, just learning English. And that's the reason why I was sort of lagging 1 year in education, because I had to do my O-levels and A-levels at the college,
Mm-hmm.
rather than doing at school. So I went to Dudley College and did my O-levels, and then carried on for my A-levels there at Dudley College. Over there, once it's clicked, it's suddenly just clicked because of language.
Yeah. Just to ask, I mean, you say you wasted a year. I mean, do you still see it as a wasted year? Because obviously that year in learning English.
It's mainly a language barrier, because I couldn't do anything, because my English wasn't up to scratch then.
Mm.
If I had known the English, learned the English before, then I could probably catch up with them. But that year was purely wasted,
Mm.
because by the time I went to university, I was in 1966. I was 20 year old. Yeah, nearly 20 year old.
Mm.
Where these days, university age is 18, 19. And in college, I studied. Actually, I was quite bright. I did all my A-levels in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
After 1 year A-levels, and I didn't expect it, and my father didn't expect the results to be so good.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't apply for university. Right. And then, because I didn't apply for the university, I had to stay another year to do the A-levels. So in 2 years, I ended up with 7 A-levels. And
What sort of subjects?
there were, in the first year I took physics, maths and chemistry. I had the B, C and D
Mm-hmm.
grades. In second year I split up maths, is a pure maths, applied maths,
Mm-hmm.
physics,
Mm-hmm.
electronics I took as separate subjects. And in all 4 A-levels I had grade A's. And took extra like distinction, there was like scholarship levels
Mm-hmm.
in those days.
Mm-hmm.
I gained this distinction in electronics and pure maths. I was the best student of the year. That's going back to college.
So although when you came here there was the language barrier and then you spent the year learning English,
Mm.
were there any other things maybe working against you, anything holding you back?
Well, in the school, I was myself and my brother were the only 2 student who wore turban, who kept identity. Right. 1 language barrier. 7, we were like strangers. And in those days, going back to 60s, people, or especially children, they haven't seen anybody with turban. And we were looked upon as though we come from another planet. And people, students, whatever, they were teasing, like bullying, sort of that sort of thing. So it was hard.
What school did you go to?
Manor Secondary School in Cosley, which is Parkfield School now.
Okay.
But once we got past that barrier, it's like self-confidence. Went to college, so you grew up a bit. Then you do feel that you are being discriminated because you kept your identity. But then, because you're grown up, so you do have self-confidence. And as the time went, in study myself, I was quite bright, especially in maths, and that's what pulled it through. And in 63 to 66, I was at Dudley College. And in 66, I went to London University. Again, London University, I think, Queen Mary College, there was only 2 of us, 6. And there was only a handful of Asians. We did have Asian societies, but I think all together, there can't be more than 10 people in the whole university.
What about African Caribbean students?
Hardly any, or 1 or 2. And there was a couple from Middle East, sheikhs. They send their students to study. And then I studied for 3 years. 60, I had BSc first class honours. Again, I came top. I studied engineering there. And then I started doing my postgrad at Birmingham University, local. So I was there for 3 years again. And that was bringing up to 70, 71, 72.
Sorry, what was your degree?
In electronics.
Electronics. And your postgrad was in
electronics.
Okay.
Yeah. Same subject, computing, mainly computing. Because computers are, then they were becoming more popular, although they were big. And I completed my degree in 72. That's when I started my first work, my first job with the W&T Avery, which is the weighing people. They're based in Smethy, but they had their research lab in Walsall. They had a new building. And I was there employed there as assistant engineer. No, before that, my first job, I started with Eddystone, which was part of Marconi. Their research in near Slough. And the research centre. And I was the only Asian out of about 300 scientists. And I stayed, not many people knew where I stayed. I stayed in private. I had a private room, used to travel. It was a research lab for Marconi, so you only had it like all professional people there. Suddenly I received a letter addressed to me, dropped at the home address through letterbox, that we give you 1 week to leave Marconi, leave this place. Otherwise, we'll take alternative steps to get rid of you. Signed by IRA. Right? Don't believe IRA. And I gave to my boss. We called the police in. Police came, they interviewed me, my boss, everybody around. And they went on and they said it's better if you leave. Now I think that it was purely discrimination, because they didn't want a colour person on the top jobs. And I don't think it was done by IRA. It was probably done by workmate, somebody, a hoax. Because the suggestion came through police that I should leave. It's better that I'll leave and go somewhere else. Now police, they are there to look after you, not to sort of give you advice. Okay, leave. In those days, I had no decision. I came back.
Did you have faith in the police at that time? Did you believe in them?
Well, this yes did, and I talked to my father. Talked with the boss. Boss said, "Okay." He said, "I can't do anything. It's in the hand of police." And policeman interviewed. He said he was saying. He said, "Did you write your letter? Did you write the letter?" I said, "What for? I want to work here. Why do I want to write a letter and send it to myself?" And then they came back after a couple of days. And this yes did. I don't know why this yes did. I can't believe it. Why they just said suddenly, okay, it's better for your own safety to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought much about it. Why? I just packed my bags and came back home. And then I found a job here local as a electronics engineer with WTA Avery. And I was there started back in 73, I was there till 1981. I still held a patent on designing the first electronic weighing machine, noteware, money weighing machine. Mm-hmm. The bank used it was for Barclays. So you put money bag of coins or bundle of notes or whatever, and the machine just tells you how much there is. First electronic weighing, microprocessor control. And I was promoted to senior engineer, principal engineer, but that was it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't go any further, purely because it was me, being Indian, being a Sikh, and that was it, full stop.
You've just said all that, but how do you know it was because of that?
Because I was the most qualified person at that place. And I held a couple of patents, and people above me, they probably had a bit more experience, but they were not more qualified enough. And I couldn't see light behind, light any further. I stayed, I think I had my patent in 77, 78, 79, 80, 3 years, still there, just doing normal work, no promotion, nothing. And then came 1981, GEC took over Avery because they were in the mood of buying. They were just buying companies then. They bought WT Avery, and they offer voluntary redundancy because that's the first thing they do. When they go in, the top people, they put their own people, and that was their strategy. And offer voluntary redundancy. I took voluntary redundancy. I said okay, because I can't go any further. So what's the point staying here? And I went across to Germany, working for Siemens. And that was a very good experience. I was taken over Siemens recruitment team. They came over, they interviewed me here in Birmingham. They said, come over, you're computer programmer. No problem language-wise, because I couldn't speak a word of German. And I was given a job. I went across. It was near Dusseldorf, on the Holland border. Small village called Backnang. And it was through agency. I went there. They dropped me in the middle of the project. The project was for international market, like telephone exchange. It was building telephone exchange, small business telephone exchange, to be marketed throughout the world. So we had various people working, Spanish working, Argentinian working, but they've been working there since the beginning of the project. I was dropped in the middle of the project.
They had been working at the beginning of the project. When did you come into the project?
Middle of the project after a couple of years.
Okay.
Right? So they said, here's the documentation, study this and carry on. Looked at it, everything in German. I said, can't read a word of German. What am I supposed to do? And to carry on, I mean, if you start from scratch, okay, you know what to do. If you start in the middle of the project, you don't know what to do. You don't know what's been done.
Sure.
And you have to understand what's been done before you can carry on.
And yet, well, you were presented with information which was in another language that you
in Germany,
yeah.
in German.
Yeah.
And there was nobody to tell me because they were all busy. I just sat there for 2 weeks, twiddled my thumbs what to do. So after 2 weeks, I said to my agent, I said, sorry, I'm going back. I said, no use staying here. I can't understand. I don't know what I was supposed to do. Can't understand the language. And he said, no. He said, Siemens is a big company. They give you 3 months probation period. Stay on for 3 months. Learn the language, and we'll help you. Stay. He talked me into it.
Right. This was someone from the agency.
Yeah. Because he would only employ English students. He was a German agent. He would only employ English engineers. Now the reason for that is because English engineers, we qualify by the age of 21, 22. We get a first degree. In Germany, you have to do civil service for 2 years. They go to university by the time they are 20, 21. Do a couple of years in the university, 2 years in the army, come back. So by the time they qualify, they're 26, 27. And by the age of 26, 27, English engineer got 3 or 4 years experience behind him. So they're more qualified. And he was just employing English engineers. He said no German. He had about 40 people working for him. So he phoned me. He had some other people who had been working for him, phoning me, coming down just to make me sort of feel at home. So I just stayed on. He came back. We arranged a private tutor, started learning German, started going to evening classes. Just went on, and then I ended up staying there for altogether till 1988, 7 years. Working for Siemens, working for another telecom company. Mainly on telephone side, telecommunication side. Came back in 1988. And then I set up my own business here in Warsaw. Representing a company from Far East in Taiwan. They manufacture electronic components for anything. For computers, for security industry, whatever you name it, they manufacture it. And I represented them on this side in England. My friend who I was working with, he was doing a German side, promoting the products, just giving them know-how to the people who want to use. So going on site, helping them to design the product, and then they would buy, and I would get some commission. And promoted that name. That name really took off 1988 to about 1997, 98. 10 years. They were good years. Good salary, good money we earned. The name well known. But it's been twice happened with me that any Asian or Far East company, it doesn't matter what sort of contract you have, once they see the opportunity that you've done the work, opportunities there, they will just step in. And that's what they did. 1997, 98, they came in, they set up the office in London, and I was promoting their name. Their brand name was promoted. I was working under their banner. Right? So their name is not known in the market. They're manufacturers. They came up, set up the office. They said, "Thank you very much. If you want to work for us, we'll give you promotional. We will give you better pricing than anybody else. But otherwise, we are going to sell." They are manufacturers. They can do whatever the pricing they do. They can beat me because I have to buy from them. They can go to an end user and undercut me. And they heavily promoted, advertised everything. So they virtually wiped me out of the market. I'm doing a bit, but my turnover on electronic side has fallen to about 10% what it was 3 years ago. Just gone down. Because their name is out and they are selling through their own dealership. And but on the side, when I came back from Germany, 1993, 94, while I was working, there's this Community Care Act came about. And I was working with the council. I've been working with the council for a number of years, so I was known. And they came to me, they said, "We want to promote this community care act. We want to talk about them, hold seminars, and teach, let your people know. So can you arrange seminars for your community? And I help them set up seminars in various Sikh temples, so they could come out and talk about community care thing. That thing generated an interest in me about community care, about caring industry. So while I was doing electronic, I invested some money in residential care homes. At the moment I have 3 care homes, 2 in Walsall, 1 here. Mainly aiming at providing care to elderly, frail people. 1 is special units, mentally infirm people. And so electronic side, that's gone down. But now I'm spending most of my time running these 3 homes.
Are the homes aimed at a particular type of people from particular communities, or are they?
No, they're open to everybody. Now the reason this home, Battery House, which is in Wolverhampton, we're sitting here, it's in the centre of Asian community. There's huge community living around here. But in Wolverhampton there's only, I think, 1 or 2 other homes who provide the facility for Asian people. On the whole, you probably find a handful of people of Asian people in the residential care home receiving care. I got 1. There's Dr. Sharma, he provides 4 or 5 people. There's about, I think, 4 or 5 people there. There's 1 or 2 other. Majority of our own Asian elders, they are being looked after their own families. That's why, that's what was taken for granted by social services, that because of family structure, our family structure, we do look after our own elders.
Is that still the same though? Do you think it's changing?
And I told you the other day when we were talking, that they did a survey. It was in the local paper. Social services did a survey, and it was really, really frightening to read. Because they accepted it, took it for granted that we look after. They did a survey. They went into Asian elders' home, and they found out they were really living very low class life, living in dump on their own. Because they came back in 50s or 60s, majority of the people who are receiving care, who were on that age, they came in during during those days, and they were foundry workers. So they got language barrier, they got culture barrier, they got religious barrier. They don't know what benefits are available, they don't know what facilities are available outside. And what the article said is that they surveyed a particular couple they spoke to, which was a typical example, that they brought up their family, they brought up their children in this country, made sure that they got higher education, good job. Once they grown up, because we failed to teach them our culture, our religion, our language, they were 90% English. Right? Although they're by color, they're Indian, but from inside they were English. Once they grown up, they want to take English traditions. They said, okay, Dad, thank you very much, you brought me up. Now I will buy my own house, got my job, and I'll live there. The poor father spent all his living, all his money, all what he earned, to set up his son, educate him, buy him a house, set him up. He spent all his cash. He got no cash. He doesn't know all the benefits available. So he was virtually penniless. No heating, living in a dump place, derelict building.
So you're saying from this research that was the average Asian
that was
experience?
That's what they published. And since then they have started setting up these day centres, like Ekta Centre and various other around the town. They're setting those up for elderly people, and they are more. They're more aware that Asian people do require care. But the other problem is Asian, our elders, it doesn't matter what life they live at home, they do not want to leave the home. Because what frightens them if they come to such a place like here, they see is majority English staff, English residents, and English speaking, and they think they're going to be there on their own. They won't be looked after. They won't be understandable. They can't make them understand what their needs are, and they'll be just left alone. So they're very afraid of coming out. And the second thing, they think that this sort of home, residential care, is the last leg of their life. That, is the way to the graveyard. And they're very, very reluctant to come out. They would rather sit at home, receive no care, and just deteriorate, than come out. We got a typical lady, which you can speak to her later. She came here, and she is when she came to this place, first day she cried. She was afraid. Her son and daughter-in-laws, they all came to visit her, but she was very stiff, very afraid what's going to happen. Now, I gave her confidence. I said, I'll live next door. I'll visit 2 or 3 times. My wife will be there. We'll be there to look after you. We can provide the language. We can provide you dinner, whatever you need. And I do have one Asian of a Punjabi speaking care assistant on the shift. So there's somebody always there. Now, after about, she's been here 2 months now. Now she gained confidence, and she's getting better because she's fed properly, fed on time, looked after, and now she's sort of settled in. And since then, I did have 1 or 2 other queries that you provide facility situations. We got 1 or 2 clients when bring them in. So that barrier, once the word is out that you are providing the care, and that barrier is lifted, then people will start coming in. But again, it depends how many you can cater for, because at the end of the day, you're running your own business, and you have to make a living out of it. So I can't just say, okay, close the home down for white people and just less of Asian. It's not possible. And it's not very good community relationship exercise.
Can you talk a little about your family for me, please? Your wife, children, that sort of thing?
My wife, I got married back in 71. She's from India. She came over. It was arranged marriage, typical arranged marriage. Before I came to this country, I was, let's go back to 54. I was 8-year-old. My wife was 3-year-old. Parents, my father and my father-in-law, they knew each other for a long time. And before my father came to this country, and they said, okay, we must have this relationship before you go away, because you don't know when you're going to come back. So I was engaged. I never saw my wife. I came to this country, and till I went to fetch her from the airport, I never saw her before. Never spoke to her, never wrote her, nothing.
And that was in 1971?
71. And then I was educated. I had 2 degrees by then.
2 what, sorry?
2 degrees, MSc, BSc. She came in 71, and we got married 71, in July 71. And then we got 2 sons. The elder one, they're both born here. And if you look at them, if you speak to them, you probably think they come from deep Punjab. Orthodox Sikhs speak pure Punjabi, right? And because I myself, I'm a singer. Singer, we sing.
Okay, yeah.
Right, Kirtan. And both of my sons, one play tabla, other play harmonium with me. and every weekend we're busy performing marriage ceremonies, a counterpart out, and they are both professional people. One is dentist, other is computer programmer. Both up here, they both got degrees, both settled, and they're both, I'm proud to say, a perfect example of how to bring up children in this country and still have this culture attachment. Right. My eldest son, he got married 3 years ago, and his wife, she's a manager at ASDA. Again, at home, we do not speak English at all. Right. And we make a point that at least in the evening we sit together, have our evening meal, and that's a must. Right. That's sort of in a day when we sit together to have a meal. In the morning they're all running. One want to go to work here, everybody rushing out. But in the evening we do sit down, and then I taught them our own language. I send them to school. They both got GCSE, O level in Punjabi. Then they got 6 studies, A level in 6 studies. So they're both quite familiar with culture and religion, and they take active part in organising these events, which I do, which are run by the Consultancy Gurdwaras. Both well settled in the jobs. What else do you want to know?
I know you're involved in religion now in a very active way. What happened in your childhood? How active was religion in your childhood to shape you?
Because our background come from a village life, and my parents, they were quite religious, and in the village in those days, going back to 60s, it was a tradition that we get up, go to the temple, Gurdwara in the morning, and in the evening there was sort of regular prayer session every day in the Gurdwaras in villages. That was the only thing to do. There was no television, nothing. Sunday evenings, people used to go to the Gurdwaras and take active part in prayer, singing, listening, speeches, whatever. That's going back to the 60s. And I was brought up in that sort of environment. I used to go and take active part, even lead the sort of back. I was only 11, 12 years old. I used to sing and give lectures in those days. In the schools I was sort of lucky, not lucky, but it was a not typical Punjabi school, typical Hindi media school. Everything was Hindi, but Punjabi was taught as a subject. So the language was no problem as well. So I was brought up in that environment where the culture is a village type culture, and there's only sort of like Sikhs living in that village, and you spend most of the time among that community. In Punjab, you obviously do. And religious side, I was brought up, and that's because my mother, my parents, they were quite religious, and because of no other social life, you can put it in the villages in the evening in those days. So it was mainly sort of a gathering point was the temples, and that's what was happening. Now these days, everything's dead because you got TV, you got all the other activities going on. Same temple I went back is empty in the evening. Nobody goes there. In the morning, empty, hardly. They probably got 2 or 3 temples, but nobody goes there.
Because people have moved on, have changed.
Yeah, moved on, and they're busy and they're running around. and it's just changed, and that's the main reason of this unhappiness, because you are sort of living in a materialistic world, and if you don't spend time on, our belief is you have to take, Sikhism is that you have to take time to thank the Lord, what He's given you. And now even here, I go to the temple, go to Gurdwara every morning, 6 o'clock. Every morning, 6 to 7 in the morning pray. And when there's no jatha available, my son, we do it regularly we've been doing for the past 10 years. A regular. Jatha means a group. Okay. Group, singers, yeah. Right? And we do it every morning. And that give you, in my life, that give you happiness and satisfaction for the day. And if I don't do it, I feel lost, like I haven't done something, and feel a bit empty all day.
Can we talk more about, I suppose, now about race relations in Wolverhampton and how they've changed since you first came here, and maybe how you see them shaping in the future?
See, in those days, the problem was because our population was very limited. There was only a handful of people living, and mainly majority were foundry workers. So people were virtually forced to be clean shaved because of the nature of the work. They had to work in the furnaces, hot, very hot. And the other thing was they were afraid, because with the turban you get identified from distance, you can't hide yourself. And because of the language barrier, they were afraid of what other people would say, what the host community will say if they see you. So there was this inferiority complex in you, that what they're going to say. They see you alone, and that age, I can accept people who, for the sake of, say, work or that sort of thing, they had to be clean shaved. But given time, now, or going back even 10 years back in the 80s, it's all changed. And now you will find 90% of our people are either businessmen or they got something of their own, and there's no foundries in existence, and there's no reason why they shouldn't come back to religion. Then they had, I'm working in the foundry, it's very hard, I had to do this. Yeah. It can be done. Yeah. Some people were doing it. I had my uncle, he was a foundry worker, he worked here. My father, he was an electrician, but he still had to work in the same environment. And they stayed, adhere to the religion. But because of this complex built in, inferiority complex built into us, people were just giving up religion. Because it took them, they were not very strong back home. They spent a lot of money to come here, whether it was through a agent, blackmail, or whatever reason. They spent a lot of money to get here, and they didn't want to sort of end up going back or not earning, because the burden was on their head. Family, back home, here settling, what's the future? So they were getting sort of going away from religion. But then, as the time developed, we were getting more and more accepted in the society. And all the time has changed. I mean, I'm looking back to 66, 67. There was only two temples in Wolverhampton. I was in London University, I used to come back. And you look at the congregation, majority of them were all heads covered with handkerchief, hardly any turbans in 60. And then we had this change in like people coming from India, priests coming, saint people coming, preachers coming.
When was that more so in the 70s?
That was late 60s.
Late 60s.
Late 60s they start coming. 69 the first time here in Wolverhampton. And then 70s was boom. They start coming, they start preaching, they start encouraging you. And then you were more accepted in the society, our population had grown. Then people did change. No, I mean, you go to the temple, you'll find at least 50-50, if not more, people who are Orthodox 66. And at the moment, this population of a strong 25,000 Sikhs in Wolverhampton. And I wouldn't say 50%, but you're quite close to, I say 30%, 40%, who are Orthodox Sikhs. That population has grown purely because confidence. Our next generation has come, and they are born here. They are here to stay. As first people who came to this country, they came with the mind: we earn money, then we go back. And that's what was in the mind. Now the third generation, they are English. This is their country, and English is the language. Punjabi is the second language. And they are here to stay, irrespective of what they do, whatever condition they have to face. They're here to stay. Not many people want to go back. So they are getting out in the society and telling them we are here to stay, and we're proud of our religion. After 84, after the attack, there was some big surge of people taking up religion again, and especially young people, because the preaching just went.
Very briefly, for the record, would you be able to just what attack in '84?
Back at home, there was on our Kaltakht, that's near the Golden Temple in Amritsar. We were fighting for free homeland, Khalistan, in Punjab, and the India government attacked the whole complex. They blew the complex up. Our Kaltakhts were blown, and hundreds of people killed. And in addition to that, there were thousands and thousands of people taken in custody, taken to prisons for no other reason. No other reason. They were just congregation come to give the blessing, because it was the martyrdom of our fifth Guru day, which falls in June. So it was Gurpurab, and they came to Amritsar and the attack. So they were encircled, and they were just taken in.
And they were innocent.
They were innocent, children, old women, and the count was after that because how they found out, because you have to take shoes off to go in. So they were taken, and there was thousands and thousands of shoes pairs left behind. And that went throughout the world when they attacked. It's the sort of it's the nature of Sikhism. You press them, and they bounce back. You're more stronger, get more and more stronger, and that's what happened. You get very strong community, and there was in those days it gave birth to International Sikh Youth Federation. I was sitting in Munich. I was working in Munich back in '84. 3 years contract, good money, and I just sitting there for a couple of weeks. I said, "What am I doing here? Earning money when my fellow countrymen, they're dying." I just packed up my bags, came home. I said, "Sorry, I'm not working for you anymore." Came back, joined the movement. I was the general secretary for the whole UK, International Sikh Youth Federation. We set up. We had 25,000 strong signed members.
Is that still in existence?
That's still in existence with 2 or 3 different fractions. Not as strong, but still in existence. But then, but up to 1990s, 92, 6-7 years, very strong.
Do you have any feelings on society as a whole and the way Sikhs fit into society as a whole and integration. I mean, do you have any feelings on intermarital relationships?
See, what we have to understand, arranged marriages do work, and they did work. Perfect example, I'll give you myself. I never saw my wife. I only met her here. And because of the way I was brought up, typical Indian tradition, I accepted my parents' choice. But that's going back to 70s, 60s. And now the generation we are talking now, they are English. If you force onto them arranged marriage, 90% of the time it doesn't work. Because they haven't got the background where we come from. They are brought up here. Their tradition, their culture is completely different. And we have to change. Parents have to change if these marriages are going to survive. Where all these marriage breaks, where the people are forcing arranged marriage breakdown, now is settled. Going back 5 or 10 years, it was a peak. The more divorce rate was very high in Asian societies than English, because that generation parents, they were forcing, and people were okay, they were getting married, but after a week, 2 weeks, they're gone. And now it's changed because people are learning. I mean, the way my son, he got married 3 years ago. He's brought up here, he's okay, he seeks, he will do whatever I say. But the way we went, I found his wife. We saw the wife first, me and my wife, got in touch with the parents, got together, arranged. And then the next thing was, I took my son, we arranged a meeting with between the girl and boy in one room. I said, you sit there, talk to girl, talk between yourself, and if you're satisfied, then come out, and then we'll arrange a marriage. They went in, we gave them a couple of hours, okay, they talked, and they settled, they gave out, and we're happy to get married. And okay, we arranged it, but we gave them, right, a chance to meet. And they said, we're happy. And then we did a marriage and they're living happily. So that change has got to be done. You cannot just blindfold them. You arrange, okay, you have to take their consent. You have to tell them, okay, go and talk. If it's right, well, you have to get them involved. And that is working. In many cases, it's worked. And people, with second generation, we are learning. We've got to learn if these marriages are going to survive. There was some going back to 80s, second, third generation. There was big hoo-ha about our people running away from homes, our youngsters. And purely it was not because of them, because of negligence from their parents. Parents, they were foundry workers, they were factory workers, they were busy working and they were not giving enough time to children. Children were running away. They run away in their mind that they will be accepted in the whole society as a Gora. But when they went out, they realized it doesn't matter what they do, the color of the skin is still there. They will not be accepted as Englishmen. It doesn't matter how fluent English we speak, whether you marry to an English girl or whoever, you will not be accepted as Englishmen. It's a reality. It doesn't matter what this racial equality thing say. It is reality. You will not be accepted. But then they get married to English girl or somehow, and the marriage breaks down after 3 or 4 years. then they want to come back, but then it's too late. Too late for them to come back, because they left the home, they don't know the culture, they've gone past that fence, and they want to come back. Now it's too late for them, and they haven't got a stable relationship with anybody. So there were many cases where the young people, they were just sitting on the fence. They didn't know what to do. Parents wouldn't accept them because they left them, and the other side, the society wouldn't accept them because they're not Englishmen. That's what they went for. That's why they left the home. And there were many sad stories like that. But I think that hurdle we have gone past. We are into our third, fourth generation. And if we involve the young people in decision making, we can still have our own culture, have our own traditions, but with their consent, then the marriage, this integration will work and we'll be successful. But blindfolding, those days gone. Our children, they're educated, it's computer age, it's internet age, they're here to stay, and they know everything. So we have to take their advice, the decision into account.
Okay. Dr. Sadhu Singh, thank you for sharing your experiences with me.
No problem, thank you.